Hello there, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Any Day Blessings. I'm Carrie, and I am sorry I'm sorry I was gone for a while because we had some illness go through our family, and I was kind of on a streak of a video a day there for a while, and everything's all right. We're okay now, but I did have to step away because I had no voice and I didn't sound great, and no one wants to hear that. So, and I couldn't really talk that long without coughing anyway. So, but I'm back, and I just wanted to come on with a video that I'm very excited to bring to you because I finally feel like I have found something that does history in a way that meets all of the little pieces, parts that I had floating in my head and were hoping to kind of pull together. And so I'm really excited to share that with you today. It's not going to be a flip through per se. There are several good flip throughs of this curriculum out there. What I'm going to do today is give you more of a real life, day in the life, actual lesson, how I'm adapting it kind of look, and my first impressions. We were doing school outside today, I'll just tell you, and it was a little misty. We're just kind of, grasping at spring here. So any little sign that we might have nice weather, we just go out. And so it did start misting, and it wasn't really great weather. So I'm not really video ready, but I had to come up right now because my kids decided to sit down and read together, which was really sweet. But that means mommy has to get this in while I can, so I didn't take any time to fix my hair or change. So I think I might have mud on my shirt, but we're good. All right, so what do I have? I have Our Star Spangled Story from Notgrass, and I actually purchased these two books. There are more that come with it. There are actually part one and part two for the actual material. Then, of course, this timeline book that I have, and then there's a student workbook, and there's a rhythms and rhymes book where they'll do different songs of the different time periods and rhymes and things like that. I'm going to tell you why we didn't get all those extra pieces for right now, and tell you how we're doing this. So I decided to get this first. This is actually what I purchased first, because all I was going to use this particular program, Our Spangled Story, all I was going to use this for was our state study next year. I was just going to use this as kind of like a visual timeline, chronology of the adoption of states. So I was just going to have this kind of as a visual display and being able to tie in some American history events to the different statehood events. So that's all I was going to use this for. But as I continued to look at the Notgrass program, and I really began to understand what they were trying to do with their curriculum, what they were trying to provide to the homeschool community, I really wanted to use the actual content. And so what we have been doing this year, it wasn't completely broken, but it wasn't what I wanted, and it wasn't engaging my son at all. He really did not like history time, and I thought, but we only have about 9 or 10 school weeks left, I think, at the time when I bought this. I thought, I'm just gonna use what I have, I'm just gonna make it work. And the more I thought about it and the more I looked into it, I thought, let's enjoy this last 9 or 10 weeks of school. This I got in the scratch and dent, or the clearance, whatever, damaged products, I don't know what they call it, but it was marked down because the corner, this is all I can figure, was this little corner was bent, because there's nothing else wrong with the book. So I'm thinking that's why it was in that section, but as you can see, it was fine. So there's a little savings tip. Look in their little clearance section and see if the book that you need is in there, because I was able to get this for right around $20, and I'm so glad. That was a $20 well spent. So I'm just going to tell you briefly how we use this, and then I'm going to let you know our plan for going forward. So we've had this for about 3 weeks in the house here, and like I said, I'm not going to do a flip through per se, but these pictures are beautiful, you guys. It's just such a delightful resource to use. I find the best way to use this for us is to sit on the couch and to have one child on either side so they can see the pictures. There is a great breakdown of text and picture together, so it's not a whole page of text and then a whole page of pictures. a couple of the other books that I was looking at, that was the format, and that just doesn't work for us. The text needs to be broken up by picture, and there's a ton of color in here. So we started out, I'm going to go through 2 lessons with you, okay? And tell you what we did, because I'm actually using this a little bit different than what's written, but Notgrass actually encourages that. They encourage you to take what they've given you and then make it your own. This certainly isn't something that they create with the intent of you following every single step. They highly, highly encourage homeschool moms to modify and meet the needs of your family. So for lesson 17, this is a home for a president. This is the account of the White House being built and Washington's early days as president and all that. And what we did was we actually start all of our lessons back here with this blue bar, okay? And what we do is we go down to the hands-on history activities. And for this one, it said, pretend you are overseeing the construction of an important government building. What are the things you would do? You'll have to hire, manage workers, get supplies, so that was one thing you could do. The other thing you could do was use building blocks to help build the White House. And then they tell you what picture to look at in the book. So what I did was I decided to use the second activity. And this is from start to finish how the lesson went. I pulled out the book and said, okay, buddy, we're going to get in your new history book today. Let's see what we're going to do. And I opened it up to the lesson. Here's my fancy lesson planner. I'll show it to you. It's right here. It's a paperclip. So I opened to the paperclip and I went down to the hands-on history idea and I said, okay, all right, go get some Legos. And I set him down and he went and got his Legos and I said, now, here is a picture of the White House on this stamp. I want you to take your Legos and build the White House. And then when you have it built, you can show it to Mommy and we'll sit down and we'll read about when the real White House was built. So that took him about 10 minutes to go downstairs, get the Legos, and build his version of the lighthouse. And I will, in time, over on my blog, when I post this review on my blog, I will incorporate the pictures of his creation and then the creation that we actually did together afterwards because he wanted to build one with me too. So I sent my son downstairs, and while he was downstairs, little sister and I, she's 3, we sat on the couch and we started just looking over the lesson. So this was my lesson prep time. While he's building it, I looked through this. I hadn't looked through this lesson any time prior, and I just looked through. And what I'm doing in that period is I'm just looking to see what out of the reading that I want to read. I'm going to show you. It is 4 pages long. 1, 2, or no, it's 5 pages long. 3, 4. Maybe it's 6. Oh, 5, 6. Sorry. But as you can see, it's not that much text per page. So even though it's 6 pages, it's not that much text per page. So while he's building his Legos, little sister and I sat on the couch and I just briefly looked over this and I said, okay, what do I want to include in the reading? Because my kiddos can sit through about, I would say the equivalent of 4 pages of this, because they start to they don't lose interest, but they just start to want to move, And so I will look over this and I'll pick out the parts that I really want to share with them. And so I did. And then when he came back upstairs after about 10 minutes, I read to him what I wanted to read, and he asked me a bunch of questions, and we were sitting on the couch together, so sometimes he would point in a picture and say, "What's that, Mom? What's that?" And or who was that? And did he help build the White House? So he's asking questions as I'm going. And so I spend maybe another 5 to 7 minutes reading, because it doesn't take that long to read the pages that I've selected. And then I start to kind of gauge for further interest. So I'll ask some of these review questions over here, and I'll ask him if there's anything else he'd like to learn about, if there's anything on the page he wants me to share. With the White House, building of the White House, he actually wanted me to read the entire lesson. He found it very interesting. Today's reading was a little different. Today's reading was the tent meeting. Lesson number 19 was today's meeting. And here it is here. And this was the start of circuit riders, traveling preachers, and camp meetings, the early revival kind of meetings. that spread up in the Appalachian area of our country. And so this was the lesson. And so again, what I did is when I got the book and said, okay, it's time to read my new history book, and I opened up to my handy dandy paperclip, and I went right ahead to this blue section where the hands-on activities are, and I saw that we were building a camp meeting, that we were going to be setting up our own camp, pretend to cook your own food, pretend that you're listening to the preacher, tell me the kinds of things that you would want to bring to the camp, all those kinds of things. So we were outside, so it was perfect. We got some sticks, and the ground was wet, so we had to make our camp on the driveway because the yard was pretty yucky. But we got a bunch of sticks, we pretended to make a campfire, and I got a bunch of blankets for us to sit on, and we went and we got some of their plastic yard tools, and we pretended to dig out a place for the pot, to cook our beans, and we were just having fun. And we did that before the lesson, okay? So I build interest with the hands-on activity that they suggest. I don't do that after the lesson. I do that to build interest at the start. And that has been working awesome. I mean, that I think is what is like one of the big helps, is doing that before I do the reading. And while they're gathering sticks and all of this stuff, I'm just, again, briefly looking over what do I want to go over. And basically, I saw that these 2 pages we had kind of already talked about as a family. So I was going to start right around here. And I only got like a page in, and my son, I could see he was like not paying attention. And so I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Well, we did this outside, and he was sitting across from me. He wasn't sitting next to me on the couch like normal. We've read every other lesson with the book open and him looking directly at the pictures and asking about things, and Mom, where's that on the map? And we flip to the back, and it's very interactive for him. This was more of a, I'm sitting here with the book and he's sitting across from me, didactic setting, and it wasn't nearly as interactive. And that is key for my son. So I actually learned today, and it kind of played out in front of me, that I can't teach this to him in front of him. I have to teach it next to him. And it's amazing because it wasn't the content. He actually was really interested in the content. We talked about it afterwards, and he had loads of questions about it. But for the actual reading time, he needs to be seated next to me. So it's kind of something that I've learned by experience with him, but just as an encouragement, if you're having trouble in any type of reading situation with your child, try having them sit right next to you instead of in front of you. It's really worked well for him. So we built the little campfire that took them 5 to 7 minutes a time. And I looked through here while they were doing that to see what I wanted to read. We read it less than 10 minutes, and we looked up on the map, which is in the back of the book here, where Cane Ridge and the Appalachian Trail, or not the Appalachian Trail, the Ohio River. We looked for all those things because one of the preachers traveled from Cane Ridge up to the Ohio River Valley to share Christ with others. And so we were looking to see where his travels took him. So that was it. So probably 15 minutes in total for our history lesson today. We have been loving it. I cannot recommend this enough. I think it is so adaptable to all sorts of different settings. But one thing, if you get one thing from this video, what I hope it is I hope that you will understand that what Notgrass has done with their curriculum is really pull all of those narrative, historical stories into one book for you. Please don't let the format keep you away from considering this. It is a textbook in its format, but it's not a textbook in its content. And if you are a Charlotte Mason, diehard follower, please know that her principle was history written from someone who is enthusiastic about this subject, that's written in a form that engages the reader. It doesn't say anything about it being in one big book, does it? I've read Charlotte's writings. If I'm wrong, I welcome the correction. But it was more about the content, not the kind of book that it comes in. And so I would just encourage you to give this a second look if you've looked at it before and kind of thought it maybe wasn't for you because of the textbook format, that's what I see most often, because the content is something I think that many homeschoolers would enjoy. Their stories, they're written by a family who loves history. You won't find, I don't think, a family who everyone in the family is so interested in historical storytelling. I mean, the Notgrass family is always posting about their trips on their Facebook page and all the different places that they like to go and explore and learn about. So they are definitely very interested in the topic of history, and when they write, that comes through. And so I encourage you to take a look at our Star Spangled Story. That's how we use it. We've been loving it. I do have a link below where you can find it. And if you're wondering how we're planning to use this book, what I'm going to do is, after we go through like 3 or 4 weeks of lessons, I'm going to pull this out at the beginning and just say, now let's just kind of review where we are. Let's just kind of see all the history we've traveled through and just kind of do this all at one time. We did not purchase the student workbook or the rhythms and rhymes. On their YouTube page, they actually show some of the dances and the songs and things like that. So we might pick them up there and watch them there, or we might just sing them here at home. It does tell you in the book what songs they are singing. And then as far as going forward, I'm going to purchase part 2 as soon as we're done with this, and after we're done with our state study, or maybe concurrently with our state study, we will do part 2 of this curriculum. So I will plan to do more day in the life with this. If you'd like, just let me know in the comments below if there's specific things you have questions about. We aren't doing the literature at this point with it, but perhaps in part 2 we might, because some of the selections that are in part 2 were going to be on our list anyway. So I welcome your comments and questions, and I will continue to show our journey through Notgrass because we are just loving it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.